Imena nili mili, Oceanilat mi mani, Evakshav ematai, ematai. Shana Tova, everyone. I'm speaking to you now on behalf of the Council of Kingston Liberal Synagogue. I started with a song to give you a bit of a clue about the topic I want to speak about. The song's words are attributed to Hillel, who was born around the 1st century BCE. The words come from a 3rd century compilation of rabbinic ethical pronouncements called Pirkei Avot. And a literal translation could be, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? The message is that if we don't care about our own welfare, then how can we expect anyone else to do so for us? But if we care about our own welfare only, are we fulfilling the potential that comes from being created in the image of the divine? Are we behaving in a way that allows us to honestly call ourselves Jewish? Hillel finishes by saying, don't think that these questions are something you can put aside and deal with later. And in the context of these high holy days, where self-inspection is expected of us, that question, if not now, when, carries additional weight. Put more briefly, live a Jewish life and don't delay. So says Hillel. Then what is essential to a Jewish life? For centuries, Judaism has embraced as the essential purpose of humanity the concept of tikkun olam, repairing the world. That's helping to finish the work of creation by bringing about a world as envisaged in our Eleinu prayer, or more explicitly, in Judy Chicago's poem, the poem that begins, "And then." Now, I won't stop to read the poem now, but you can find it on page 213 in our Shabbat prayer book, in our Siddur for Shabbat. Or you can tune into our live-streamed Shabbat services to hear Rabbi Rene sing it to a melody recently composed here by KLS member Rebecca Singerman-Knight. So, if our mission is Tikkun Olam, how do we go about that? An answer can be found in another saying taken from Pirkei Avot and sung very often in our Torah services. Al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omed, al haTorah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al gemalut chasadim. 3 things support the bringing about of the world that we aspire to. Torah, that's divinely inspired teaching. Avodah, spending time in prayer, divorcing ourselves for a while from mundane concerns, and so re-energizing our connection to what is holy and our dedication to the teachings that we can draw from Torah. Gemilut chasadim, the third, maybe the most important, good deeds. Actions that prove our commitment to Torah by showing that we care about the well-being of others. And that brings me to the purpose of speaking here today, which is to remind you that, as in most synagogues, one feature of our High Holy Days celebration is an appeal for donations to go to good causes. In previous years, the Synagogue Council has selected 4 good causes, one being KLS itself, and has invited donations to each of these. The peculiar circumstances of the COVID pandemic have prompted Council to take a different approach this year. As has been explained to KLS members in our weekly bulletin, Council is asking that you donate as generously as possible to a single fund that Council will then distribute during the course of the year ahead. Half of that money that you give will be used to redress the shortfall in the synagogue's own income. The other half will be given to good causes that Council becomes aware of during the course of the year. By not nominating specific charities at this time, Council retains the flexibility to address the variety of unpredictable needs for support that we may encounter in the current unprecedented circumstances. Of course, everything depends on you and your generosity. So please, think hard about what spending on yourself you are in a position to give up, or perhaps have been forced to give up because of the pandemic. Think also about the good which could be achieved if you made that sacrifice in order to provide for those who are in greater need. Let me finish with a final thought about living a Jewish life. Again, it's a quotation from Pirkei Avot. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor, v'lo ata ben chorin, leibatel mimena, v'lo ata ben chorin. In English, you don't have to finish the job by yourself, but you're not free to desist from it. Thank you for listening. A detailed explanation of how you can make a donation will follow and be repeated in the KLS Bulletin.